So good evening to everyone, and we are starting with the first topic of the year. So the topic is against the stream. So earlier on, Terence wanted, or his initial idea, he wanted entering the stream. To me, it's like copying from someone else's Dhamma talk series, and I don't want to repeat a lot of those suttas. So I decided to have a topic against the stream, right? So it's the different context, different context. Entering the stream means one is attaining this stream enterer. That means a level of sainthood, to be a holy person, to reduce certain defilements, so that's entering the stream. Whereas in this context, against the stream is going against the stream of desire, stream of craving, so which is a very different context. So again, the Buddha taught these analogies or these similes for both. So I decided to use this against the stream. Okay, so let's begin. So for those who are new here, we normally have a bit of a discussion first. For the Tuesday sessions, a bit of sutta discussion, more like appreciate the teachings, uplift the mind, maybe have a bit of investigation to kick off this thinking, critical thinking, and hopefully that helps in the meditation practice later. Okay, so this is from this AN 45, it means Anguttara Nikaya 4.5. So the sutta is called Along with the Stream. So it starts off the scripture, bhikkhus. So the Buddha is addressing the monks, so the monks are called bhikkhus in the Pali language. Bhikkhus, there are these four kinds of persons found existing in the world. Right, so the Buddha mentioned there are four kinds of people. What for? So the first one, the person who goes along with the stream. So that's the first kind of person. Second one, the one who goes against the stream, which is today's topic. And number three, the one who is inwardly firm. So this is probably the person who has gone against the stream to a certain extent. And the fourth one, and the one who has crossed over and gone beyond, the Brahmin who stands on high ground. So that's like the finale, that's the end product. So there are four kinds of persons. So number one would be untrained person, all the way to number four, the most evolved spiritual practitioners. So these are 1 to 4. Number one, and what is the first person who goes along with the stream? Here someone indulges in sensual pleasures and performs bad deeds. This is called a person who goes along with the stream. Right? Those people who are uncontrolled in sense pleasures, not rid of lust, enjoying sense pleasures here, repeatedly coming back to birth and old age, immersed in craving, are the ones who go along with the stream. Okay, so there are 2 points here. One is indulge in sensual pleasures. So that's the first point. So indulge in sensual pleasure means you enjoy nice things from the senses. Nice shows, nice songs, right? Nice sounds, nice smells, nice fragrance. Anything that's nice, you like, you cling on, right? So that is indulging in sense pleasures. And if anything it's unpleasant, like disgusting taste, disgusting sight, disgusting sounds, then you want to push it away, have aversion. So that also defines uncontrolled in sense pleasures. So this is another definition of being uncontrolled in your senses. So when the Buddha mentioned control in senses is a very deep level. It's a deep level of practice. Control in senses doesn't mean okay, don't see, don't hear, everything don't see, don't hear, don't smell, don't taste. So that is not controlling in senses. To a certain degree, there is limitation of looking around, let's say for the monks' monastic rules, we have this rule of gazing downwards. Gazing downwards. So we like sort of gaze like 45-degree downwards. If you look at the Buddha statue, you look at the Buddha gazing downwards. You don't see the Buddha looking upwards and looking all around. So to a certain degree, by minimizing contact or minimizing sense stimuli, it helps in reducing craving. You don't need to put in so much effort to fight the craving. So that is a kind of training. So when the monks go outside, they go for alms round, we are supposed to look at the bowl, and not look at the people. Oh, this house so nice, this food so nice, and this display board so beautiful. Yeah, so when we enjoy the senses, then it defeats the purpose. So some people go to the monastery, they can sit for many, many hours, or they try to sit for many, many hours in meditation. But once they go outside, they all enjoy, look here, look there, never control in senses, and they see nice food, they eat like hungry ghosts, then kind of defeat the purpose. So it's a bit like fitness and health, physical fitness and health. Some people go to the sports stadium or go to the gym, right? They claim to be at a gym for many hours. But once they're outside, then they just go back to junk food, unhealthy lifestyle, smoking, drinking, and stuff like that. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So that's being called control in senses. So in the spiritual sense, we talk about mental or spiritual health. When a person is controlled in senses, it's not just in meditation. So in meditation, we sit down, we try to control in senses. So if a person is practicing samatha meditation or concentrative kind of meditation, they go back to their meditation object, they keep repeating and repeating the meditation object, they try to avoid distraction. So in a certain way, they are not reacting to other sense stimuli, not reacting pleasant, unpleasant. So they're just narrowing down options to one sense object. So that is the samatha aspect. And the vipassana or the insight aspect is to reflect on impermanence, to investigate the dhammas inside the meditation object or outside the meditation object. So that is more on gaining wisdom. So if it's an open awareness kind of vipassana, so a person don't have to fix on one object. A person can still be aware of the surroundings, but by being aware, one also needs to be aware of the kind of emotion that arise, what kind of intention arise, what kind of states of mind arise. So person needs to take note of that as well. So there are two kinds of training. One is to limit the sense stimuli, sense contact, and another kind of training is required more skill. If a person open up freestyle, person also can have this kind of immunity, immune from getting hooked to this sense pleasure. So there are two kinds of training. So this is controlling in senses. Okay, then the next point, performs bad deeds. Performs bad deeds. So earlier on we chanted 5 precepts. So for a layperson, minimum, try to avoid 5 unwholesome things. So because it's not really translated in English, so we chant in Pali, right? So the first one is avoid killing, avoid stealing. Third one, avoid sexual misconduct, avoid telling lies, and avoid taking intoxicants. So these are the 5 training rules for a layperson. So if you want, you can upgrade to 8 precepts. We won't talk here. And for the monastics, we have more. So novice monk have 10, fully ordained monk have 227. In the Mahayana, I think they have 250 or something, and nuns who have 300 over. So there are more precepts. So these are just guidelines anyway. So the whole idea is when we do something, there's also intention. Earlier on, we talked about controlling senses. So that is in the mind level, right? When we are not doing anything physical or anything verbal, we sort of have reactions to the sense stimuli, either we have greed or hatred. So these are the unwholesome kind of intentions towards the sense objects. But if the emotion gets too strong, then we will sort of get pulled along by the emotion. They will tell us to say something or do something to follow that emotion. And that will be performing bad deeds with that intention. Then we carry on, we're not rid of lust, enjoying sense pleasures, repeatedly coming back to birth. So that means in Buddhism, we believe in rebirth. So if a person continue to create this kind of karmas, especially unwholesome karmas, with greed and hatred, then they'll be reborn in lower realms, like hell, ghosts, or animal realms. But if a person indulge in sense pleasure, but perform good deeds, so they will have this good karma. So they can indulge and perform good deeds, then they come back, but reborn in better sort of realms. And in Theravada Buddhism, we believe we have no guarantee, no control what's the next lifetime, what we're going to do. Are we going to mix with bad company? Are we going to go back down and stuff like that? So there are risks involved. In most of the Theravada scriptures, the Buddha is like encouraging people to try to get out of samsara as fast as possible. Okay, so immersed in craving, the ones who go along with the stream. So if a person indulges in either sensual pleasure or perform bad deeds or both, then they'll come back again and again. So that's the first group. Right, and the second kind of person is a person who goes against the stream. So what is going against the stream, which is today's topic? Here, someone does not indulge in sensual pleasure. Okay, so this is considered a practitioner, at least a person who is intent in overcoming sense pleasure. Then can be classified as the second group of persons, and does not perform bad deeds, even with pain and dejection, weeping with a tearful face. He lives the complete and purified spiritual life. And this is called a person who goes against the stream. Wow, okay, so this one talks about somebody tempting you, they want to break the precept. I don't know, maybe somebody offer you to drink alcohol, social events, and you die say no, or whatever with the precepts. So there's lots of discipline. If you are already contented or happy, then you won't be tempted, then you won't be in much pain. But let's say it's very tempting for whatever reason, some kind of maybe bad situation, which will tempt you to want to steal or kill or whatever it is. Some maybe very poor countries, especially like the earthquake and stuff like that. Then sometimes it's survival. So if a person really sort of doesn't want to go against their conscience, and they die also want to not loot or steal from anyone, then requires very strong discipline. Okay, and can be very painful, especially if it's life and death situation. Okay, therefore a wise person with mindfulness established, not resorting to sense pleasures and bad deeds. Okay, then I'll try to explain first, add a bit of my own personal commentary. So a person with mindfulness established means a person observing these four foundations of mindfulness. So I think last year we covered this topic for many lessons, four foundations. So there are four things: mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the feelings, mindfulness of states of mind, mindfulness of the Dhamma, four things. So a person is mindfulness of the impermanent nature of these four things, not resorting to sense pleasure and bad deeds. Okay, so if a person really spends some time to be mindful of this impermanent nature of these four things, or any one of the four things, they will grow this passion. So they will not resort to sense pleasure. So if the joy from this enchantment is stronger than sense pleasure, that means a person is going against the stream pretty well. The rate of going against the stream is pretty good. But if it's just a bit only, let's say you listen to one talk, then the Dhamma teacher makes sense. And then you agree for a while, then later on you go back to square one, so not good enough. So a person needs to practice every moment continuously and very consistently. Once you sort of have this pleasure or this enchantment to sense pleasures, one will naturally not do bad deeds. If a person sort of not enticed by greed or hatred, then they won't do unwholesome deeds. I would say that would be more appropriate, because bad has two aspects. One is the mundane kind of bad in societal norms. Sometimes you may say something with good intention, but a person from maybe another angle, a point of view, may find it offensive or bad, or the society or culture may find it rude or disrespectful. Right? So that's the mundane point of view. So we are talking about unwholesome in terms of the spiritual aspect, not the mundane aspect. So in this case, if we are practicing, we try to be moderate. We need to be aware of the mundane issues as well, mundane kind of laws or mundane culture, and so as not to get into trouble, and also the spiritual aspect, which is to purify our own mind. So whatever thing we say or act or think, then we won't do these unwholesome deeds. So when they give up sense pleasures, even if it's painful, let's say they haven't developed samadhi, they haven't developed contentment in this state of mind, their mind do not have some emotional happiness and contentment, then it will be a struggle. It will be a struggle for them. They will just follow out of faith. So initially it can be a tough struggle, but if the more they practice, the more maybe develop some samadhi, some peaceful states of mind. It could be a jhana kind of samadhi, or it can be a vipassana kind of samadhi. The person reflect on impermanence a lot, and the mind also can enter insight kind of concentration. So that would also give one's mind some equanimity, some balance, some equipoise, some strength, and some foundation. So a person's mind won't be shaken by sense pleasures. Okay, so they call this a person, one who goes against the stream. So it has got to do with the resolution. So if a person have this intention to really practice and get out of or overcome suffering, even a person is still a beginner, not cultivated in meditation, that also counts. So this is a person who wants to go against the stream. They put on this tearful face, they fight against this craving, fight against sense pleasure. So that is this kind of person. Oh, somebody asked a question. May I ask, which good deeds give the most good karma? Wow, okay, this is a very good question. Okay, so in Buddhism, we always talk about mind being the forerunner. So if a person realize the truth, so that would be the highest kind of good karma, enlightenment, the karma that purifies or transcends all karmas. So that is the highest. But of course, to get there, a person needs to practice this Noble Eightfold Path. They have the right thought. So later on in meditation, we'll emphasize a lot on this right thought. So a person needs to have thoughts of non-greed and non-hatred. So for non-hatred, we'll be emphasizing a lot on loving kindness. That's the opposite of hatred. And for greed, we'll emphasize a lot on impermanence. So whatever object you're paying attention to, you can use these both kinds of reflections. First is making peace with that object, have goodwill. You're not trying to control or fight that image or that object, that sound, the smell, the taste, whatever it is. You have goodwill, you wish it well and happy. And later on, then you think of impermanence when the mind is more calm. Where if the mind is not calm, you straight away think of impermanence, the mind will struggle, will fight. Same with other kinds of meditation objects. You watch the breath. If your mind is not at peace with the breath, you do not love the breath, you do not make peace with the breath, you straight want to control the breath, you fight. And a lot of people will have this constipation phase. They try to fight and struggle and stuff like that. So ends up more suffering. Right? So this one will really face pain, weeping with tearful face. This one is struggle. So if a person wants to reduce this pain or this tearful suffering and lamentation, one needs to try to apply the Noble Eightfold Path as much as possible. So that is the way to overcome this mental suffering. Hope this gives some idea on this good karma. Anyone else has any questions? If not, we move on to the next slide. Okay, so, and what is the person who is inwardly firm? Here with the utter destruction of the 5 lower fetters. Okay, so the 5 lower fetters means a person overcome down to the 4 noble truths. That's one of the lower fetter. Then they overcome personality view, identity view. That means I am a Buddhist, I am a Singaporean, I am a Chinese. So a person will cling onto this identity view. So if a person give up this certain level of ego, right? And third one, they overcome the rites and rituals associated with these identities. So whatever identities, they will come up with certain rituals and rites associated with various identities. So a person can have different kinds of identities based on different contexts and situations, and each scenario they'll need to act and respond differently. So different kinds of rituals, different kinds of observance to face that scenario. So if a person has not overcome, that means this doubt, that means they do not experience the Four Noble Truths to a certain degree, they do not experience the spiritual joy or happiness from overcoming greed, then it's a bit hard to look for spiritual happiness. So a person will totally rely on mundane pleasures, totally rely on sense pleasure for happiness. So they totally rely on these rites and rituals. Like maybe let's say a person identify themselves as a soccer fan. I am a soccer fan. So they have certain rituals and rites. They need to watch certain match at certain time. They need to buy certain jersey or play certain matches, right? So there are rites and rituals associated in any kind of identity. They cling on that for happiness. So when these rituals are affected or somebody criticize that certain identity, criticize your favorite football team, then you get very upset. You can't watch your soccer match in time. You get very upset. So this is clinging on to this identity and rites and rituals. So these are the 3 fetters. So a person needs to overcome these 3 to become a stream enterer. So if a person wants to enter the stream to this sainthood, a person needs to overcome these 3. So this is a checklist. So the other 2 fetters is this greed and anger. So besides the 3, if a person reduce greed and anger, which are the 2 other fetters, then a person will become once returner. So a stream enterer is believed that maximum they will be reborn 7 lifetimes. 7 lifetimes for stream enterer. And a once returner, that means they get reborn one more time, either in the human realm or in some lower Deva realm, the sense, desire, Deva realms. If a person totally overcome these 5 fetters, okay, so once returner weaken greed and hatred. Whereas the next one, if a person overcome greed and hatred, they become a non-returner. So this is a person who fully destroy these 5 lower fetters. So I'll continue reading. So some person is spontaneous birth. due to attain final nibbana, there without ever returning from that world. This is called the person who is inwardly firm. So this is very demanding. This third category of person needs to become a non-returner. So the Pali word is called anagami. Anagami. And the category before that, that means if a person only weaken these greed and hatred, but they overcome doubt, overcome identity view, overcome these rites and rituals, then they are called Sakadagami. That's a Pali word, called the once returner. If they, overcome only the three, then they are called the stream enterer. And right after this non-returner, mentioned here, they destroy the 5 lower fetters. We'll talk that maybe the next lesson. So one who has abandoned 5 defilements, fulfilled training, unable to retrogress, attain to mind's mastery, his faculties composed. This person is called one inwardly firm. So this is already considered very high. So normally in the teachings, even in the 4 foundations of mindfulness, towards the end, the Buddha will mention, if a person practice this teaching correctly, they'll either attain arahanthood or a non-returner. So arahanthood in Theravada Buddhism is like the final goal, the end goal. So if a person cannot reach the end goal, they can become anagami, this non-returner. So this is already like very close to the end point. Do we still have time? If not, we open for Q&A. We'll continue the rest of the scripture to the next lesson, because this Tuesday's lesson we repeat continuously until the end of the year. So we don't want to run out the scriptures too quickly. So we are going to have more episodes. Okay, so any questions from the ground? Yes, someone is asking, may I ask, why is telling lies considered bad, even if it is a white lie with no ill intentions? Wow, okay. Yeah, so in this world, there's lots of these gray areas, lots of gray areas. So I still believe, honesty in the long run, honesty is the best policy. Honesty is the best policy. So even though with, let's say, our limited options, we may find that telling lies right now can save you a lot of trouble. Save, maybe your point of view can save a lot of people lots of trouble, right? So these to some people, maybe telling white lies may be one of their options. But in the long run, if let's say a person is strict with the precepts, then it's a kind of training rule to also train their wisdom. So they'll try not to tell white lies. Then the mind will start to investigate, think of other means, other ways to answer in a way which doesn't tell these lies. So by doing so, by blocking off this avenue of telling white lies, then they slowly train their wisdom. So in a way, it's like this pressure pot, this cooking pot. You cover the lid and then you have more steam. So you cook the food faster. So that's the pros and cons. So hopefully that kind of give you the answer. So I won't tell you what to do, what to say or what not to say, because I'm not in your shoes. Sometimes people may face certain people, let's say on the deathbed. You might sometimes they are about to go already, then sometimes a bit hard, this kind of situation. So I leave it to one's wisdom, one's discretion to answer accordingly. Anyone else? Any questions?
Bante.
Yes, right. Roy.
Bante, I want to ask, how do you consider one person as no? How can one consider himself or herself has already become a stream enterer in this case? Just want to be curious about how do one knows about it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so if a person keep on investigating on impermanence until they have this detachment and they have this Dhamma joy, then that would be kind of close, yeah? Then after some time, keep on practicing, then you need to observe yourself. I used to very upset over certain these daily life rituals and ceremonies. How contented are you and stuff like that, yeah? So these are kind of checklist for oneself.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
All right, no problem. So for couples here, happy Valentine's Day. So Valentine's Day also some ritual, some people want to go out and celebrate together on Valentine's Day. So some people if might get very upset if not celebrated in a certain way. Yeah, so this is you have to see your own clinging to rights and ritual. Okay. Yes, Susan, you have something.
Yeah, Bante. From what you say just now, which mean do you mean that we should not have hatred, even any residue of it?
That is for a non-returner. Yeah. So if a non-returner fully overcome or destroy the factor of this anger.
Yeah, but I mean, at times, let's say if it were to happen, sometimes our moods may be down. Then suddenly the thought comes in. Yeah, how can we overcome that point? That we don't even allow the residue to stay.
Yeah, so there are pull and push factors. So if a person is not well developed in the wisdom or concentration of wisdom, then they'll need to have the this painful dejection and the weeping, teary face. They grind their teeth and fight with all their might. So that will be the case. Yeah. So if a person face anger, they will need lots of effort to overcome this anger. By hook or by crook. So depend on how skillful you are in your technique. But if a person is, let's say, reach any of those levels of sainthood, they can be a stream enterer, these ones a non-returner, they will have various strength or various degrees of strength in the insight concentration. So this insight concentration will give them a kind of emotion, a stability, contentment and equanimity, so the mind won't be sort of shaken so easily.
But let's say if you do get angry, but not to the sense that you really get so worked out on it. Yeah, but you don't do anything bad. You are not creating any unwholesome deed, right?
Yeah, so mentally there might be some unwholesome karma, due to the thought, depending on how long you think of that thought. And that's very good if a person can have sense of self-restraint to avoid creating any harm. Yeah, so that would be a good start.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, anyone else? If not, give a count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, then we go for a short break, 5-minute break. You can do your stretching, go to the bathroom, and we'll see you back for the guided meditation. Okay, if you're back, maybe you can turn on the cameras or give me some sign to know that you're back. If not, I feel like talking to unseen beings. Okay, so I presume everyone is back. Then we're going to start the meditation. So you can mute the microphone so that we can prevent this feedback. And we're going to find a comfortable sitting posture. Make sure your back is upright and the rest of the body relaxed. Okay, so what we are going to do is, if possible, for this lesson, try to identify what is this stream of craving. So what we are going to do is we are going to feel the 4 element sensations of the body. So what are these 4 elements? Earth, fire, wind, and water. Yeah, so whatever sensation that's pertaining to hardness and softness, we classify them as the earth element. Fire element is hot and cold sensations. Wind element represents any kind of movement, fast or slow movements. And water element represents moist or dry sensations. So we are not going to deliberately create those experiences. So we are just going to let them arise naturally by themselves, and we are going to just wish them well and happy. So this is real-time observation. No need to purposely control. So when a new sensation appears, we wish them well and happy. New sensation appear, we wish them well and happy. So we make peace with every sensation. So these sensations are like the currents that run against you. And if you keep wishing them well and happy, and then just observe what happened to the mind. Is the mind getting more restless, or is it getting more calm? And normally in my session, I will encourage people not to do nothing. Do nothing means not rowing against the stream, and then you'll be dragged along with all the currents. So not doing anything is like what we do before we sleep, right? And if you don't do anything, then different kinds of stray thoughts will come. So all these are sense pleasure, fantasies or worries about the past or future. They'll come and then they'll drag your mind away. So if your mind is getting less tension, so that's a sign you're going against the stream. If let's say we react with any greed or anger with anything, any thought, any sensation, this part of the body, pain la, and you curse and swear and complain, then you see what happened to the mind. See whether it's there arising in tension. So that is going along with the stream. So even though a person may not verbally or physically do any bad things, never do any harm, but mentally, just not being guarded in the senses, one will create tension and suffering. So if you want to have inner peace, I mean, that's the wise thing to do. Why create this self-inflicted suffering to yourself? So we keep rowing the boat, keep wishing all the sensations well and happy, wherever it may be. And if your mind is relatively calm, then we can take note of this baseline emotion. This is a state of mind, a baseline state. No levels of concentration yet, no insight at the moment. So you take note of this emotion, most probably quite bland, nothing unique. And now we are going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy. So no need to push or exert your mind in any direction. Let it extend naturally by itself. And for this practice, no need to visualize. There's no categorizing of beings. There's no way to visualize all beings, all the species of insects, all the unseen beings. We have no idea how they look like, so don't visualize. So what we're doing is we practice this non-discriminative method. All beings are made of these elements and the 5 aggregates. So whenever you detect any sensation, right, there we perceive these beings as such. So all beings, they perceive these sensations, or they are made of all these elements. So when we detect any sensation, we wish all beings well and happy. Be it inside your body, outside your body, near or far distance. As long as a new sensation arises, we wish all beings well and happy. So we add 2 more important words inside, all beings. So a new sensation arises, all beings well and happy. New sensation arises, all beings well and happy. If there's like an increment in joy or happiness from the baseline emotion, where mind gets more peaceful, and that would indicate the first level of concentration. And whatever you may experience, continue to keep rowing the boat. Keep wishing all beings well and happy. In fact, no current is a better opportunity to row the boat. So the mind calm, also keep rowing, wish all beings well and happy. So this samatha, or let's say if it's a jhanic kind of contentment or happiness, they are not permanent. They last for a while like a battery. So if a person wants to develop a more unconditional kind of inner happiness, then one needs insight. So now we're going to combine. So with this reflection, we're going to think of the impermanent nature of all these sensations, all beings arise and pass away, all these elements, all these sensations arise and pass away every moment. So now the boat rowing is the thought of impermanence. So aside from observing, we can sub-vocalize whatever label you want to use: impermanence, change, arising and passing. You find one that you like and you keep repeating. So this to encourage wakefulness. So whatever peace that comes after, it's peace achieved through right technique and skill, not peace through sleeping. Okay, and if the joy and happiness start to disappear, and if let's say you get some neutral and refreshing kind of emotion, then that may indicate the fourth level of concentration, which is equanimity. So there are two kinds of equanimity, both jhanic and insight kind of equanimity, since we are thinking of impermanence. And regardless of what you experience, continue to keep reflecting on impermanence. By doing nothing, and we call it clinging to even states of concentration or nice peaceful states, that is also sense pleasure, a kind of craving. Call this bhava tanha. So we need to keep reflecting on impermanence. Okay, then we are going to move on to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. So similarly, we are going to use the non-discriminative approach. And we wish all beings, when they are free from suffering, all beings experience the 5 clinging aggregates, which result in suffering. So when we detect any sensation, we wish all beings free from suffering. So it's not just the poor, but the rich also, not just those in hunger, but those who are well fed, not just those who are sick, but also those who are healthy. Everyone will more or less experience some form of mental suffering. So no need to visualize. Once we visualize only, then the mind will sort of love to create dramas and stories. You're creating more currents and streams for yourself. So new sensation arise, all beings free from suffering. New sensation arise, may all beings be free from suffering. And the more we repeat this compassion, wishing all beings free from suffering, one may experience this joy and happiness again. So that is the concentrative kind of compassion. So compassion can be very happy. If compassion is solely sadness or sorrow, then you can think of Kuan Yin or the Buddha, why they put on a smiling face. So this is the recharging kind of compassion. The conventional kind of compassion normally is actually empathy. If we overdo it, then it's discharging energy. One may get depression or burnout. So now you're learning to recharge the energy. Keep on wishing all beings free from suffering. And regardless of what you experience, no matter how calm, how peaceful, also wish all beings free from suffering. Okay, then we are going to add some insight, some wisdom, some reflection. We're going to reflect how to overcome this suffering, how to practice true compassion, that is to not cling onto these aggregates that cause us suffering. So we need to keep on reflecting on impermanence to shake out this attachment. So every moment, every sensation, we observe how they arise and pass away. And of course, we can sub-vocalize also. So if let's say the joy and happiness disappear, and one may experience a kind of blankness or kind of spaciousness. So that could be this perception of infinite space. So it's not the same kind of equanimity from the fourth level. So no matter how blank or how whatever you experience, continue to keep reflecting on impermanence. Don't get stuck or lost in space. Okay, then we are going to move on to the third sublime state, which is this appreciative joy. So for that, we're going to rejoice in the accomplishments of all beings. So similarly, we're using the non-discriminative approach. So all beings, when they detect something new, they gain a new experience. So every time we detect any sensation, we are going to rejoice with all beings. So it's not the, so we're actually going closer to the source of these mental formations. We're not going to the end product when it's finally formed, the stories at the end when somebody win a lottery, then you rejoice for them. And how about those who didn't win? How about those who lose? How to rejoice equally. So we're going to go back to the source. Every thought generation, new experience, we rejoice at the very basic function, appreciation and gratitude. So new sensation arise, appreciation with all beings. New sensation arise, appreciation with all beings. So the more one rejoices, one may experience the third level of concentration, denoted by the emotion of happiness. And regardless of what you experience, continue to keep rejoicing with all beings. And we are going to add some insight, some wisdom, and we're going to reflect all beings will eventually be separated from what they have achieved. So all these memories, all these experiences, they are not permanent. So sometimes we forget, what we've done and stuff like that. So all these sensations, we also can't hold on to them 24/7. These sensations, they come and go. So we're going to observe the impermanent nature of all these sensations, how they arise, how they pass away. And if the happiness is gone, and one might experience this sense of self encompassing the entire area. So they call this the perception of infinite consciousness. Maybe some people call it the universal oneness or universal self. Regardless of what you experience, continue to be mindful of impermanence. Okay, then we move on to the fourth sublime state, which is equanimity. So for equanimity, we use the reflection on karma. So all beings experience this cause and effect. We reap what we sow. So for this exercise, there's no need to over-imagine or speculate what we've done in the past. We just observe what's going on every moment here and now. If, let's say, a pleasant sensation appear, that's because of good karmas ripening. And if unpleasant sensation appear, that's due to bad karmas ripening. And if it's a neutral sensation, then neutral karmas ripening. So in short, all experiences is conditioned by karma. So when you detect any new sensation, you reflect karma, new sensation, karma. So we keep rowing the boat with karma, or reflection on karma. Okay, and if the mind is more accepting to the karma, more at peace with karma, then one may experience the fourth level of concentration again, which is denoted by the emotion of equanimity, a neutral and a refreshing kind of emotion. And concentrated states are also karma. Yeah? So no matter what you experience, continue to keep reflecting on karma. Okay, then we're going to add some wisdom, some insight, and we're going to reflect how to overcome this karmas. Yeah? When we have good karmas ripening, we feel happy. Bad karmas ripening, feel sad. So we kind of get like a roller coaster. So to get out of this roller coaster ride, we need to break free. Right? So we use the reflection on this impermanence of the feelings. Mindfulness of feelings. So any pleasant feeling, unpleasant, neutral feeling, we observe how they arise and pass away. So these feelings come together with this sensation, with these four elements. And again, whatever you may experience, continue to keep reflecting on this impermanence. And if, let's say, it's too quiet, too blank, then you may increase the investigation on these 5 aggregates. So the 4 elements are the form aggregate. And we talk about feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, that's the feeling aggregate. And we have the perception aggregate, all the labels and jargons or the terms that we give to that object. So that's perception. And there's mental formation. So mental formation is the same as karmic formation. So karma is actually the 4th aggregate. Why do you have to experience this nice or unpleasant sensation? So this is due to the mental formations, choosing to go to this direction, to pay attention to this place or that thought. And eventually we have the 5th aggregate called consciousness. That's your attention. So your attention, does it always stay at one place? Does it want to move around? So we keep observing the impermanent nature of these 5 clinging aggregates. Okay, and before we conclude, same gentle reminder from the Karaniya Metta Sutta. As long as we maintain this boundless sublime states, be it standing, sitting, walking or lying down, then this is the noblest living. So rowing against the stream is not just only sitting at every moment. Okay, so with that we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, but informally still can generate right thought. Okay, anyone has any issues, any problems? How about JH? Can follow? Okay, all right. If there's no issues, then I'll hand over to Terence. Okay, then we have the dedication of merit. So just a short chant to share the goodness or the heightened state of mind, and asking all these beings to rejoice with us. So, chant. Akasata Bhumata Devanaga Mahidika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasanang Etavata Cha Amhehi Sampadang Punya Sampadang Sabe Deva Sabe Bhuta Sabe Sata Anumodantu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. Dedication of merits to the departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. And aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Sadang samagamo hotu yavani bana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so we give 3 bows to the Buddha. First bow, second bow, and the third bow. All right. Any announcements from Terence?
No announcement, Bhante.
Okay,
Night.
no announcements. Then we'll continue next week. Huh? All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Bante. Thank you.